So, Michael, apparently Critical Role responded to the whole OGL situation after I think it was 1 or 2 weeks of just being completely silent about it. And it's weird because they responded after Wizards of the Coast gave their official response, which I think is kind of weird. What are your thoughts initially about this whole situation?
Um, I think a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's probably better you just go ahead and keep it PG for now.
All right, because here's the thing, right? Wizards came out and they were like, "Hey, we agree with the community. We're for the community. We're only doing this so other people don't take our IP, don't take our intellectual property, don't take all of the stuff that we have painstakingly put out, and it's just in self-preservation, and it's all of this boilerplate BS." And then Critical Role literally 2 hours later put out their whole statement where it's like we support the community and we stay with the community, but they also didn't renounce anything. And so a lot of people, again, I would never know, you would never know because we're not privy to all of the background dealings, but Critical Role and Wizards of the Coast have worked together, pretty tight over the past few
Honestly,
years, with all of the Matt Mercer stuff, with all of his subclasses being released through them. So they have pretty good dealings. And here's the thing that a lot of people seem to forget: Critical Role is not just a bunch of people that are like you and me. That are common people who started streaming and they grew big. No,
these are voice
people,
actors.
these are voice actors who have worked with Hollywood, who have worked with bigger executives. They know how entertainment works, so
Like,
they are privy to all the contracts they sign. And so the fact that this is coming out, that they've only released a statement after so long of just being quiet, and only after Wizard of the Coast themselves have put out a statement, it tells you that whatever is going on behind the scenes, they can't say anything about it because most likely there's an NDA that prevents them of, speaking their true mind. And I do feel like, as players themselves, and as people who most likely profit from a lot of the stuff that Wizards do, they they aren't allowed to speak their mind because, again, Critical Role isn't just the six people who are that you see on the gaming table. It's all the people in the back, production team, all of the makeup and stuff that they do. It is a company, more or less. So they
yeah,
have other people to think about when they make these sort of decisions. And
yeah.
I think there are two sides to this, right? On one side, it's like they should have done more. They should have stuck with the community and the fan base that have, given them such a big platform and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, they also have to look at the livelihoods of the people that are under their employ, and so they have to think, what's the most tactical way that we can give support to our fans while also not breaking any contracts that pay the people that work for us, right? So in many ways, you can't really fault them, but as a person, I won't say that I watched him fervently over the years, but as a person who's in many ways has seen their success and their success story, I think it is important to make a little bit of um, I think it's important to keep in mind that they are people who are not like us, who have been in this industry for a long time, and so they know how all of this works. They know how all of these contracts are put out, NDAs are put out, and for the most part, they really can't speak out against the people that employ them. In many ways, the people of Critical Role are sort of employed by Wizard of the Coast in a roundabout manner. So I think we can only say so much, but I think given their situation, they did what they could. Now, that doesn't mean that what they did was the best thing they could have done. I feel like if they had a little bit more integrity, they could have stuck with the fans more than they had to stick with, you know, the corporation. But it is what it is. I think there is a bit of hypocrisy because at one point or another, you have to realize that these people got so much funding in one day. What was that record, by the way, for their Kickstarter?
Not even sure. I can look it up.
Please do, please do. I think it was 11.3 million. But that was at like the end though, right?
Still up. Hold on. They raised a total of 11,000,000.
Right.
385,000.
So 11.3 million essentially.
Yeah, 11.3 million on a Kickstarter.
And here's the thing.
With only 88,000 backers, almost 89,000 backers.
Here's the thing. This is the stuff that Critical Role made with their own fans, their own support. And this is the stuff that Wizard of the Coast wants to monetize in the future. All of the Kickstarter stuff, all of the Patreon, back-funded stuff from like personal supporters, right? This is what the OGL is meant to do. It's supposed to take money from these people. And Critical Role made, a deal with Amazon with that 11.3 million. And now that Wizard of the Coast is trying to, profit off of its player base using the exact same method without doing any of the effort, and they made their money this way, it's a little bit of, I don't think hypocrisy is the right word, but a little bit of oversight that a lot of people have missed. Yeah, a lot of people have missed this completely.
Yeah. Like, this doesn't extend to just modules and books and fan books and custom content. This extends to everything that could possibly be needing to raise money for. Some YouTubers, they will, let's say they have some merch they want to start putting out, but they're like, okay, we need to crowdfund the merch so that I can put the money together to actually put a down payment on the merch, and then people can buy the merch. They'll just make it so that it's like, hey, they pre-order it basically through funding a Kickstarter.
And this is the thing that a lot of people seem to forget. Wizard of the Coast is run by Hasbro, which is a corporation. I don't understand why they're doing this, except because of one thing, and it came to light recently. I didn't look into this. Actually, someone from our previous video told me about this. The person in charge of Hasbro currently is an ex-Microsoft employee, and we know how money grubby Mr. Krabs motherfucker Microsoft is with their microtransactions.
Yeah.
You could sort of see where all of this is coming from now that you look into it. It's like,
yeah. And I went into the video knowing this. Like, I knew that it was someone from Microsoft who had taken over as CEO, but it was like, it wasn't on the front of my mind like that while we were discussing it originally. And I was just like, I saw that comment and I was like, yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, they are from Microsoft.
Bro, it's like that Gronk meme. It's all coming together. It makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, it just adds up. And it goes to, it stems from, look at the way games are monetized. Okay, let's say a lot of games are moving to the free-to-play model, okay? Where,
but
you
it's
have
not
a game,
really free-to-play. It's like free-to-play with an asterisk, right?
Yeah, it's like free-to-play with an asterisk. Like, and I will say that most free-to-play games, it's like, okay, well, you can play the game for free, but how much can you really get out of it? Like Fortnite, for example. I think Fortnite is a perfect experience in terms of free to play. I think they are the benchmark for what a free to play game should be theoretically. Anything you can do by spending money in the game doesn't affect gameplay. Like, that's one thing that I will tout Fortnite for. You never have to spend any money to stand a chance at actually winning in a game.
Yes, but
you get what I mean?
But
no matter
the
what,
way
it never
that they
feels like you
market
need to spend money
it,
to actually get better at the game,
right?
Or to have more tools than anyone else.
Right.
It's completely outside. Their monetization is completely outside of the actual gameplay loop.
Right, but the way that they get people invested in like the microtransactions, in the skins, in the battle pass, is very predatory in some sense. Because
It's predatory towards children.
which is their
I
main
mean,
player base.
yeah, it's very predatory towards children, and to an extent, I think that it's not okay.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we gotta still realize this is a company. And another thing, the game. Parents need to be monitoring what their children are doing.
I think you are correct in that parents nowadays, they don't they're not as cautious with their children as they used to be. Like, what is the thing that we hear all the time? Oh, just give them the iPad or the iPhone, and it will just keep them distracted. It'll keep them distracted, but like all of the
What are they
shit.
doing on it?
Exactly. A lot of people don't
And
look
I don't
into
think
it.
it's necessarily a problem of parents are less careful about their children nowadays.
Hmm.
Because remember, back in the day, like my mom tells me about stories about how she used to walk all the way from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, part of like Fairfield, all the
Hmm.
way out to Baker. Like
Right.
they used to walk all the way to Baker. That's like 20 plus miles,
Right. Right.
and then nothing would happen. Like they used to say, "Oh, the world just was a safer place back then. You don't have to worry as much about what's going to happen to your kid," and they're not wrong. But it's more so the ways you have to worry about your kid have changed. Like back in the day, if you put your kid on the computer, what's the worst they can do? They can bully. They can download a virus. Okay. Um, Nowadays, you put a kid on a computer, you might wake up and next thing you know, you have $0 in your account or you're in the negative, and all your rent money has been spent on V-Bucks.
Bro, it's hilarious to think about it, but that is the state of the world currently. It's very
Yeah,
absurd. It's very absurd.
like parental supervision is something that is harder and harder to come by nowadays. Because guess what people do? You wake up, get your kids ready, get
You
them
just
on the
have so
bus
much
to go to
stuff going on in
work.
the world that looking at what your kids do on the internet has, in most parents' eyes, just become like, it's something that they don't really think about.
Yeah,
And
they set up like the minimum parental controls and think everything's
and
good
some don't even
when
do
they
that.
are. Like, some don't even do that. Like my sister doesn't have, she has parental controls on her phone,
Hmm.
yet she can still access TikTok and upload videos to TikTok, and I don't like that.
I think there is there is something to be said about all of the Wizard of the Coast stuff and Fortnite stuff, and that is corporations are getting more and more uh, tactful when it comes to getting your money, right? Like Wizard of the Coast, they didn't make this like a big announcement. They try to slide this past, and with Fortnite, they're actually being sued right now, or they were sued, and they had to like pay a fine that wasn't very much, where a bunch of people actually sued Fortnite because of the way that they were marketing, like skins and everything to children using like actual psychoanalysis on like how the brain works. And so they were like, okay, so younger children's brains are underdeveloped, so they don't have the mechanisms in place, for a lot of like self discipline or anything that would prevent an adult from recklessly spending. They haven't developed it yet, so they made it easier for them to buy things from like the store without putting
Yeah.
in like the like without getting a parent's approval. So I believe like some ordinary gamers, Mutahar, actually went in completely blank and did a similar like experiment with Roblox, where after he bought using like a gift card, right, that you buy from like a store, grocery store, whatever, and he just kept buying Roblox, and there was no like, hey, go get your parents to like approve this purchase or whatever. It was just, yeah, sure, go for it. There was nothing in place to like verify if this was a person 18 plus was purchasing this, right? It was just all of these companies, they've made it so lax and easy for certain demographics of people to get their content by just I don't even know the correct word to describe it. It's just it's predatory to an extent. And I think a lot of people need to learn and to grow and be careful with what they do. And you can sit at home and you can say, "Oh, it's the company's fault. They should be more ethical." And at some point, yes, you are correct. But at some point or another, you have to take responsibility and be like, "This is my money. I have to learn how to spend it wisely." And the greatest thing about this, and I come back to this, is all of these streaming services, or anything where you have like a monthly payment system in place for things that you normally wouldn't, right? Like for example, Spotify, Netflix, Disney Plus, all of this shit, right? Here's the thing: a lot of those companies know that if they give you like a 30-day free trial, and before you do that, you have to put in your information, and then again you get that 30 days, but after that they start paying you. They know that you're probably going to like forget about it, and they're going to get like a couple of months, 1 2 maybe even 3 months, and then you'll finally come back and see, hey, money's coming out of my account. Why is this happening? And then you'll call and then you'll realize, and it's technically your fault. You didn't read the terms or you just forgot about it because you're forgetful. And companies know this. So they take advantage of you. And at some point or another, you have to realize you can only make you can only blame the company so much until you realize I opted into this. I should know what I'm getting into, right? And so there has to be a level of personal accountability.
Where it's like I'm gonna address this in two ways. I'm gonna address this as an individual spending their money as an adult,
Right?
and an individual with a child who would like to spend money on these games.
Okay.
From the perspective of an adult, it is up to you. Do I think that some practices are a bit predatory? I think loot boxes were some of the worst ideas ever put into a video game. It's basically gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, loot boxes that could be obtained in game for free and you couldn't buy those loot boxes, I think those were a fine mechanic. They were a little something, okay, hey, we'll give you a little bit of a chance to get something rare, but probably not. And you don't have to spend any money on it. Like Overwatch 1 loot boxes that you could get through leveling up and stuff, right? Those were fine.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you could buy all those loot boxes and spend like hundreds of dollars on them, that wasn't very good.
Right.
But it's up to you as an adult individual to be conscious of your own spending. Do
Mm-hmm.
I think that games should have some sort of systems in place, such as a cap on how much a single player can spend within a certain amount of time? Yeah, that would be nice, but that's in a perfect world, and we don't live in one.
We live in a very realistic society, and I think
We
people
live in
need
a
to
very
realize
realistic society.
that there's nothing ideal about what we live in, and you have to adapt yourself to that, right?
Yeah, like in an ideal world, yeah, you'd get like a little warning about, hey, you spent $500 this month on this game. Are you sure you wish to continue spending money on this game? Or, hey, there's a hard cap of you can only spend maybe like $800 on this game in a month. That would be amazing, but unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in. That's not going to happen. That is not something that these corporations are going to do. They're not going to willingly turn away profit. It's very, it wouldn't make much sense for them. Why would they stop their whales from being whales?
True.
Now, looking at this from the perspective of a parent with a
Mm-hmm.
child who plays online games and games that have microtransactions within them,
Yep.
if you're going to allow your child to do that, you need to be on top of your stuff as a parent. You can't get mad at these companies for allowing your kid to spend this money because kids inherently don't know the value of money. A lot of them don't know how much money is really worth.
I would argue that a lot of adults wouldn't know that either, for the most part.
Yeah, you're not wrong,
But
but
that,
like
but that's really neither here nor
that's
there.
yeah, that's like that. Those are a special subsection of adults who really haven't experienced the real world, almost like children.
Very
Like
true. Very true.
if you give a 10-year-old $500, he's gonna look at it. He's gonna be like, "Oh, this is a lot of money." And you kind of look at him and it's like, "Yeah, well, yeah, kind of a lot of money."
I mean, it kind of
But
is, but like depending on your favorite preference, that is frightening
yeah,
little.
like a kid, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, $500! I'm rich. I'll never have to work." But like as an adult, well, that's 1 month. That's half of 1 month's rent. So as an adult, you have to be there for your child, and you have to put your foot down.
Right.
If parental controls are available, use those parental controls. You need to monitor any purchase that is made on your behalf by your child for DLC or anything like that. And you know what you should do?
What?
And I'm not a parent, so I hate to give parenting advice, but have your kid ask you, and every time they ask you, "Hey, can I buy this? Can I buy this?" Just note it down, and maybe depending on how much income you have to waste or how much you want your kid to have or how much you know you want to do things as a parent, maybe one purchase one purchase a month, two purchases a month. Hell, if you're really really understanding your kid's a good kid, they do everything they need to do, and you have the disposable income for it. Hell, even like 10 purchases a month, that comes down to the individual. But know what your kid is doing, track what your kid is doing, and be there as a parent to step in to stop your kid from making too many purchases within a month or too many, buying too
Just be
many
mindful,
V-Bucks, too many
honestly.
skins. Be mindful of your child. Yes. Like, pay attention. Take advantage of parental controls.
Bringing this back to the whole Wizard of the Coast thing, I think a lot of people need to realize that no matter what happens, corporations are going to try and make money any way they can. A lot of it isn't legal, or it's unethical but legal. I mean, the world really is run by a very few amounts of people. Like, they truly can be free. And so, realistically speaking, I don't think the OGL is truly going to stop unless Wizard of the Coast realizes that, hey, if we don't change things fast, our bottom line is going to disappear, and we won't have a product, or uh, we won't have a market or a group of consumers that are willing to buy this product. And so, like we said before, cancel your D&D subscriptions, because apparently from last time, a lot of people stopped, you know, their D&D subscriptions, and Wizard of the Coast actually had to hide the unsubscription button or something, which is wild to me. Isn't that like illegal, Nando?
Is it illegal?
I mean,
Probably not.
you would.
Should it be? Probably so.
I mean, again, it really ties back into unethical but legal, right? So,
Yeah, like a lot of companies do stuff like that. Like I was watching a YouTube video a while back on practices of like the adult entertainment industry.
uh huh.
And a lot of those sites that sell adult content, like
What about it?
Brazzers
What
and
about it?
yeah, they make unsubscribing from their service very unintuitive. Like they'll lure people in with like these $2 for 2 days
Mhm.
type deals, and then the person will, they'll go in, they'll enter their payment information, and they'll use the content, and then they'll try to cancel, and it's like, Well, to cancel, you have to go through this website, and then you go through this website, and then put in a service request for this website, and then after you go through like 15 different websites, you're actually able to cancel,
I just think
and it's completely legal.
I don't know, because here's the thing, right? As people, as you and I are currently, we can only say so much until we get to a point where we run, or where we experience, being part of a company like this and being in that point of decision making. Because here's the thing: you can always tell someone do things this way or do things that way, but until you're in a similar situation to them, that's only then will you truly be tested on, do you stick with your values, right? And I genuinely feel like if I were the CEO of Wizards or of Hasbro, I am not sure if I would make different decisions than what they do now, because considering that level of achievement and that sort of authority and whatever, I think my reality would be skewed to a point where I wouldn't even view consumers as people. And
Yeah, and they don't. That's just a hard fact that we're gonna have to accept. Even the most consumer-friendly
companies.
companies,
Hmm.
they're gonna view you at the end of the day as a source of income, and that's it. Like, sure, they say they care, and like, sure, the people who are working on something or working on a product, they may be passionate about that product,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, to the people actually running the company, people who are buying the product, they're nothing more than consumers who they are quite frankly are using to make money.
Right.
It's how business works. It's a sad insight, but it's really just the way things are sometimes. Should we do the standard YouTuber outro?
Oh
Make sure
yeah,
you like, subscribe, leave a comment,
yeah.
and tell us what
Algorithm
you
stuff.
think about the situation. Yeah, algorithm stuff.
uh,
Yeah,
we're real
we got
YouTubers,
to.
okay? We promise. We're
Yeah,
very
yeah, we
professional.
promise. Yeah, yeah. Go hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you click the bell. I think that's does something.